Hello, I'm Ari and I'm back with a new video. Did I just say Ari? I have a special video for you today because it's my birthday, which means I have a deeply personal project that I'll be working on. But first, let me address the name. You definitely heard me right. I did say Ari and not Ariel. I have been considering shortening my name for quite a while now, because although I like my name, I never fully felt like it was wholly mine. It is a brand name. Specifically, it's a Disney name of a Disney princess, and all my life I've been associated with this Disney princess and Disney properties because of the name I was given. Except for that one person that did say Ariel, like the Fae from The Tempest, which kudos to you, stranger, for that deep cut. But anyway, growing up, I've always been gifted Little Mermaid merchandise. I had bed sheets, which I made a dress for last year. I had lamps. I had all the books and coloring pages and stuffed animals. I've been given so many Ursulas. I've been given so many things with Ariel's face on it. I've been asked countless times if I can sing, and anytime I talked about dyeing my hair, everyone's always said, obviously it's red, which, to be fair, I think I do look pretty good as a redhead. However, most of the time people were saying that because my name is Ariel. I've had people try to set me up with Eric's or become new best friends with their friend Sebastian, and I just don't feel like I have my own identity. And I would really like to, which is why I've decided to shorten my name to Ari. It's very similar to Ariel, and if you combine it with the letter of my last name, L, it's still Ariel, but with a little sparkle on it. Ari is short and sweet and to the point, which is two of my traits. The other one, speaking of, straight to the point, let's get into this video. In this video, I'm going to be reclaiming my new identity by refashioning one of my old identities. Specifically, I'll be rebranding this Disney branded Ariel zip-up hoodie into a suit jacket from a vintage McCall 5974 pattern. The vendor label says 1960s, but the style is giving more 40s, and the copyright date says 1945. Now this is just going to be the shape that I'm going to be working in. I actually have plans for the covering of that huge print that's on the front of the jacket. I've been very inspired lately by Alabama Shannon, which has been popping up on my Pinterest. I love the look of all of their pieces, particularly I love their unique take on recycling and reusing fabrics and hand embroideries. It really appeals to my trash goblin brain, and I would really love to get into more hand sewing and decorative style stitch work. Not to mention, I love the idea of using every little last scrap of this jacket of my former identity to shape something new that I love and that is more better suited to who I am as a person and represents this new chapter in my life of really exploring the things I like, the things I want, and how I want to be perceived in this world. It is very pretentious, and it's going to be a huge challenge for me, physically and mentally, doing all the stitch work and the mental gymnastics of making designs with just scraps of fabric, but I really want to challenge myself with this. Oh, and for those wondering, to better articulate my point, this hoodie specifically was gifted to me as a part of a family Disney trip that we went on one year, where everyone got Disney branded hoodies to wear in the parks. And of course, without being asked, I was gifted the Little Mermaid hoodie because of course I did. Because I can't go to the parks wearing a Cinderella hoodie or wearing a Tiana hoodie, which is my favorite Disney princess, because I'm Ariel. That would be blasphemy. Oh, and for those who are wondering, that family vacation was 10 years ago, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who not only still has their Disney princess hoodie, but I also still wear it. And trust me, this hoodie has seen some It's got paint splattered all over it from numerous art projects over the years. It has destroyed cuffs that I had fairly recently repaired with velvet because I'm obsessed with velvet, and the zipper's been broken for like 3 years. I've gotten so much love out of this hoodie. It has not been forgotten. It has been worn and used and cherished for years, but now I think it is time to repurpose it into something that better suits me now. So, without further ado, let us begin. First off, I have to prep the pattern. Nothing like the smell of fresh, uncut vintage paper. Actually, it does make me die a little on the inside when I have to cut uncut patterns, because it's a permanent alteration, but I remind myself that this was its purpose. To not use a pattern is to not give it the life it deserves. I do try to preserve as much as I can, such as cutting around these scripts on the side. I also try not to use pins or tape and not to cut the pattern itself. If I need to make heavy alterations such as sizing up, I will trace out a new piece and work on that instead. Although this pattern is a rare size 20, based on the package sizing, it does seem like it will fit pretty nicely, so I'm fingers crossed that it won't bite me in the butt, because I'm not making a mock-up. I have considered scanning my old patterns, both to preserve them as they are and so they can be shared and made by others around the world. However, that is a project for future me to take on. With my pieces cut and ironed, I can move on to taking the jacket apart, beginning with the zipper. And one thing I do appreciate about the zipper is the binding along the edging. I would not have thought to do that because the edging doesn't need any finishing, but I do like the way it looks, and I will remember this. The side seams rip open pretty easily as well, despite being serged together. Not sure what that says about the quality of the materials, or probably it's just its age. And with the cuffs, I'm just going to cut them off. I probably won't be saving these as they're quite heavily altered right now and have been really worn. However, the waistband is in pretty good shape and I might use it for something later on, so I'll save that instead. Next, I tear away the shoulder seams, which is serged and top stitched, yet comes away mostly when I pull firmly. Again, not sure what that says about the quality of material. Maybe it's age. Who's to say? For the hood, I simply cut off the edging. One thing I do plan to leave attached is these pockets. They are in surprisingly good condition considering the age of the jacket, and I like to follow the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't rip it out and make more work for yourself. Or something like that. With my gizmos aplenty, ready for the cutting table. I cut the front panels. These will be the side front panels to the new jacket. I carefully line the side front panel up where I think the pockets will lay best and cut those out. I cut the back panel from the back, and then I use the sleeves to cut out the side front panels. For the collar, I cut from the inner hood, but will later go back and cut another piece from the gray fabric because this hood fabric is thinner and stretchier than the gray fabric and will be a pain in the ovaries. Now here is where things get tricky. I've run out of big pieces to cut from, but I still need to cut out the back side panels and the back peplum. So I use the largest pieces I have remaining to cut a mostly whole side back panel. Then I pin scraps to the missing chunks. I repeat this process for the peplum, then sew those chunks with a zigzag stitch, and cut the rest of the pieces out as normal. And now if you're thinking, what about the sleeves? I'm getting to that. For the sleeves, I stack all my scraps together until they form a vaguely sleeve-shaped shape, and then let sewing magic happen. Just kidding. That would be way too much work, plus I have plans for these precious scraps later. I'll be cutting new sleeves from this fleece sweater fabric leftovers I had from refashioning my last sweater project. With that, I am ready for the next step, which is cutting up my fabric scraps into thingamabobs. With my inspiration, Alabama Channon, they often use petal pieces to make designs with scraps of fabric and form organic shapes onto whatever material that they're working with. I'll be doing something similar with leftover strips and cutting shapes inspired by the sea, such as shells or pieces of seaweed. I did try doing a couple of other designs, such as hearts and petals. However, I really like the sea motif. You can say it's a harken back to my namesake, but honestly, I just love the ocean. I love the cold water lapping at my heels, sending shivers up my legs, the wet sand underfoot, hard-packed one moment, swept away by the sea in another, the sound of waves unfazed and commanded by no one, rising and falling of their own free will. I can't picture myself living anywhere that I can't reach the ocean by short trip, so I want to incorporate those elements into my design. Now, it is time to dye all of these cut pieces. I'll be dyeing them black, like my soul. I even chucked in the pink fabric just for giggles. I want the colors to be dark and moody like my teen years. Of course, the bath and wash did cause all of the stretchy fabric to curl and wring out of shape, which in hindsight I should have cut the shapes out after dyeing, but that had to be a learned lesson, I guess. With my bits and bobs done, I am ready to start building my design on each panel. My goal is to cover most of, if not all, of the aerial print on the jacket. I accomplish some of this by sewing shells and seaweed motifs over the printed fabric with scraps of fleece underneath and cutting away the printed top. These cutouts will be my focal points to layer around and away on each panel piece. And so my creative journey begins. Due to the nature of hand sewing each shape into place, this project has given me a lot of time to self-reflect and to discover new things about myself, such as I love the look of chaotic art. Its messy, unstructured forms bring me joy, as there is just so much to take in. There will always be something new to discover in the little details. However, when I try to create chaos myself, my brain just stresses out. It does not like making disorder. It wants structure, rules, and motifs to follow. It recoils when I try to stray away from the pathways it's familiar with, making this quite the challenge, I must say. Perhaps this is why I always feel I need a pattern to make before I start any project, even if it's a simple one or one that I've made dozens of times. My brain demands a familiar plan to move forward before it can experiment with new designs and ideas. It's almost like working on a collaboration. My chaotic, loving soul working with my structured, demanding mind creates something that they are both pleased with. Since my brain controls most of my function, I let it have some ground rules for my chaos to follow, such as the ocean theme I've been carrying on, which I have to do throughout this whole project in order to make it feel somewhat cohesive, even though the main message is chaos. Each panel does not have to look the same, but they have to be related with motifs like the squiggly lines with pink tacking or the fleece triangles. Or like the fact I want to try a new stitching technique on each panel, with varying degrees of success I might add, but my structured brain says you must then repeat this stitch again on each subsequential panel in order for it to feel like it's related, in order for me to do it. Trust me, it was a hard bargaining process at times with my brain wanting to cancel the whole thing, but I am quite pleased with the results. And I think me, myself, and I have grown closer together from it. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? With all my pieces ready, I can finally begin to assemble this jacket. Just kidding. So, I realized after getting it all prepared and sewn together that sweater fabric is pretty loosey-goosey. It's just not that great for a structured jacket, so what I'm going to do is cut out a lining out of a black denim cotton that I have. Could you stop? And then hopefully that will give it some more structure and so it doesn't stretch too much. I want it to be a little stretchy, but I don't want it to be full drape when I'm wearing it. I'm hoping that will give it enough stiffening that it will hold its shape, but still have that same aesthetic of having that sweatshirt material on the outside. So that is what I'm going to do. I start by sewing the front side to the front, and then join the side backs to the back side. I add a short running stitch to the peplum skirt for ruffling, then add the peplum to the underside of the back curve. I join the side seams and then give it a try on with my fingers crossed this whole time to make sure it fits. The shoulders are a touch long, but the fit itself is really good, so I'm pleased. I lock in those seams by serging the edges. This helps flatten the seams and clean up those lumpy lines. I repeat all these steps for the lining But after serging, I top stitch the seams down, which gives it a clean look and helps further reduce any bulking. Next, I stabilize the collar lining by sewing in a sewn-in stabilizer. I then sew that stabilizing lining to the jacket lining. I serge the stabilized lined jacket liner to the jacket collar. Then I straight stitch them together and snip the corners. I turn it inside out and baste it to the jacket body. For the sleeves, I dart the elbows, then join the seams. These sleeves won't get any liner because I think the lining would add too much bulk. Plus, these are made out of fleece, so they're super cozy and I don't want to cover that up. With the sleeves done, I serge them to the jacket. From leftover lining, I cut 2 flat lemon-shaped shapes and stuff them with fluff. I fold them into lemon wedges and serge the edges. Then pin one to the inner jacket shoulder before trying it on for size. As you can see, my right shoulder has the structure and support that it needs, whereas my left looks a little sad and droopy. I hand tack the pads to the seams. I honestly wasn't planning on making shoulder pads, but they did really help the jacket silhouette, and even though I am a 21st century gal, I don't really have anything against strong shoulders. I pin the jacket liner to the jacket proper and sew around the edges. Next, I serge the the edges. After I pull the jacket right side out via the sleeve hole, I smooth every curve and poke every point, including these ones at the bottom. Not sure what this flap is for, but I assume it probably got figured out in the original facing pieces that came with this pattern. I don't mind these though. It adds an interesting detail and my chaotic soul is pleased. Speaking of, my inner chaos gremlin decided these sleeve cuffs are simply too bland. It really wants to add a bit of the ribbing back from the hoodie. I unpicked the sleeves just a little bit and slot them into the folded ribbing. I attached them with a set of straight stitches and then did a lattice work in a lighter color through the stitching for decoration. I then fold the jacket liner edging around the sleeve, pin, and hand tack those closed. With that, I can move on to the last step, buttons. Honestly, I haven't given much thought to the buttons. If I had known I was doing buttons, would have marked out their placement earlier so I wouldn't place anything over top of where they're supposed to go, but it's fine. I'll just cut through my hours of hand labor. It'll be fine. First, I have to decide on the buttons themselves. Do I use turquoise to highlight the blue accents? Heck, I was beginning to question whether I should add buttons at all until I found the perfect ones for the sea-themed project.
Wow.
Look at these nautical wonders. Aren't they neat? I picked these sea puppies off a thrifted linen blouse ages ago and have been pondering their purpose ever since. I love their color, I love the stippled texture, and it really is their time to shine. As a last-minute detail, I stitched around the whole jacket to flatten and stabilize the edging seams, and with that, I'm ready to be where the people are. There you have it, another project down, and I gotta say, I absolutely love how this came out. I know I say that every video, but I really truly mean it. It came out even better than I had originally envisioned it would. This project was such a challenge, but I enjoyed myself greatly, and I felt like I learned a lot about myself and grew as a creator, as a seamstress. You know, as I get older and look into myself, introspect about my creative being, I notice a lot of patterns that I hadn't really realized before. Like, I like chaos, I like the look of it, but I just can't grasp it on my own because my brain doesn't work that way. It doesn't want to have chaos, but it likes the way it looks. It's like, I'll admire you from afar. So this has been a real challenge, trying to embrace some of that chaos, but I think I was able to marry that chaos that I love with my more structured brain that I have to abide by in some way, and I feel like this is a good representation of both. It's a structured jacket, but it's also a bit chaotic, and I like it. Let's see, things I could have improved on. There's not much to improve on chaos, right? But I probably have done the stitching for this on the inside. That way when it's all tucked down, you could see the stitching, but it's really neither here nor there. I probably won't fix it. It's entirely fine, and that's the beauty of this. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I can embrace that. I can, or at least I'm trying to. But as far as the type of project, I really liked doing it. I thought it was really neat watching each panel come together individually and then together as a whole structured garment, and I would love to do more exploration on types of fabric manipulation that I've never tried before, such as the smocking in the last project I did, and of course this would you call it embroidery? It's sort of like embroidery. I definitely want to explore more of that. Of course, this took a long time. I think I started this back in March, and I'm, to be honest, cutting it a little close. So I probably won't do a ton of big projects in the year, but a few of them will be great. Maybe a little sprinkling of some stuff. And just to update you on my life around the house, I am doing a lot of work in the yard right now because it is now sunny and warm. So I'll be a bit busy, but I still plan to do my 1 a month video. Plus, I'm still sorting through all the footage that I took last year before I moved, and I'm trying to get those videos done as well and get those out. Let's see, as far as everything else goes, that is about it. If you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out the channel. And I'm not going to plug my social medias, at least going forward, because I have not been updating them as regularly as I should, and it's just a lot of mental energy that it takes to do all the things. Remember to take all the photos, remember to make posts and updates. And I'm not really an internet gal. I'm not really on the internet all the time, mostly just to watch YouTube videos and then make YouTube videos. So I'm just going to leave that section behind for now until I have more time, or rather more mental energy to deal with it. Anyway, until next time, I hope you have a great day. Bye! Alright, we'll consider that good. I got to get the heck out of this jacket. It is so hot, and it's like 80 degrees, and it's fleece. God, Mr. Black. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, papas. Hello, Mr. Black. Oh my gosh, you were thinking about this earlier. Why can you not think about what you're trying to say now?